guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle, a little bit later than normal on a Sunday. It's Father's Day. And one of Uncle Jack's sons and grandsons and his wife came over this afternoon, and we had a blast. We did haircuts, we did styrofoam airplanes, we did water guns. We had a good time. We had hot dogs and chips, and Leah made brownies. It was a great afternoon. So now we are here with you after Leah did some pet visits and I cleaned up after everybody left. But half of our house doesn't have power. And so we called our electrician yesterday. He couldn't come yesterday, so he comes today. We're all geared up for whatever it's going to be. How do you figure it out? Is it going to be a breaker? Whatever. And do we have to tear down the entire house to find what's wrong? How do you figure out where it's stopping? Turns out there's two lines that come in from the power company. One of them's dead. So I called the power company and they will be here hopefully tonight. In the meantime, we have extension cords run everywhere and we're probably putting too much power on the other half. The explosions happening all around. So anyway, it's crazy.
On a really hot day, 2 days, no air conditioner
went out.
And I tell you what, it's been okay. Like, praise God.
I think it's best that the air conditioner went out, because if it was still running, because it's on 220, I don't think anything else would run.
No,
so it's forced us to realize, like, you know what? We can't run the air. So anyway, so that's all right, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
And while you're coming, Michelle and I got in a little argument over time, and it always seems
they were
to happen,
following in the chat. I was giving them updates.
As it always seems to happen, that right before a really good show, there's something that incredibly petty happens, and it tries to steal your joy. It tries to steal your anointing.
We always say to each other almost before when that happens, like, man, this must be a really good show that we're going to have, because then the devil tries to attack.
So I go outside. And it's so... I actually wish I could take you outside. I wish we could do our show outside. Bothers me to no end that we're down here. Not in the basement. Not that I mind my basement. The basement's great. But when it's so nice and the air is so clean. And it's literally... one of my favorite times is right after a rain. When the cool front comes in.
Yeah.
And there is a scientific phenomenon where everything is greener.
Isn't that weird?
Dark green. And there's a nice, beautiful...
It must be the hue.
Yeah.
Maybe water reflection.
Yeah. I looked it up once because I would talk about it all the time with Kansas, because we tend to be in the car when it happens, and I'm just so in awe of how beautiful, how green it is. And I was listening to the birds chirp right after the rain, and I felt the Holy Spirit say... This peace that you feel right now is why you're doing the show.
Yeah, that's good.
Because there are people who don't want you to have that peace, who don't want you to have freedom, who don't want Christianity, who believe in abortion, and as in the human rights, the UN Human Rights group tweeted out Antifa. So we're going to take a moment and we're going to delve into the European historical underpinnings of Antifa. Now, put this in your head. Antifa are anti-fascists, but they are pro-communists. That is why they're red. Okay? Antifa are communists. Antifa are communists. Just remind yourself that.
So, but historically, I grew up lumping communists and fascists and socialists
in one
group.
Yeah.
And so the way you need to kind of differentiate this, okay? You got the Crips and you got the Bloods.
Perfect.
And they're both gangs. And they are warring against each other, but they're both gangs.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
So the fascists are a gang. And they're against the communists. I guess you could say that. And the communists are against the fascists.
Lighten this so they could read this behind me, or no?
They could see it pretty good. Oh, so you mean so they can read it?
Yeah.
Well, I have it on the thumbnail. Just read it out loud. It's a tweet.
UN Geneva tweeted out this on the 20th, which is yesterday. Today?
Yesterday was the 20th.
Today's 21st? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's right. All right. Tweeted this out yesterday at 1:55 a.m. The UN human rights experts expressed profound concern over a recent statement by the U.S. Attorney General describing Antifa and other anti-fascist activities as domestic terrorists, saying it undermines the rights to freedom of expression and of peaceful assembly in the country. Now, since then, they have since taken down the tweet. But this flag here is the Antifa flag. They literally tweeted out.
Unbelievable to me.
So when Donald Trump defunds the UN, he's literally defunding communists. That is why they're pro-Chinese. China, CCP, Chinese Communist Party. That is why they're anti-Israel. And that is honestly why like you said, all the gangs stick together. Why they're pro-Islamic regimes.
Well, what we were trying to say is that certain gangs are warring against each other. But what's interesting is that the communists tried to put capitalists and libertarians, Republicans, in the group of fascists, which is ridiculous because guess what?
Fascists.
We aren't a part of your sect of gangs. Like, you might say we're our own gang,
right?
But like, we aren't in your type of gangs.
Use force for political change. Libertarians do not.
Right.
Neither do conservatives.
Now, some Republicans.
UN cited Fionnuala Ni Nolan, a UN special rapporteur who also works as the board chair on the left liberal billionaire George Soros' Open Society Foundation's women's program. The defense of Antifa from the United Nations sparked a very big backlash on Twitter. Like, I was so glad that, like, everybody was pretty much... That's why they had to take down the tweet, right? Many calling for the United States to defund the United Nations. The Trump administration has called for the anarcho-communist group to be labeled as a terrorist organization, after reports indicated that supporters played a part in widespread riots in America. Now, Millie Weaver has 2 videos up on Millennial Millie
on
YouTube. What went on behind the scenes, the planned protest, the organizations, the George Soros organizations, the BLM organizations,
of what happened
the
in Minneapolis.
Sunrise organizations. All these organizations have been waiting for a trigger event to put things forward. Now, they aren't waiting for a trigger event. They find these trigger events. They use climate change. So every time you see a bunch of teenagers with a bunch of the same signs, these are organizers. Right. Obama's organizing for action. The co-founders of BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, remember this. Mike Brown, hands up, don't shoot, never happened. Mike Brown, 300 and some odd pounds, 6'4", reaches in the car of the police officer to grab his gun. Hands up, don't shoot, never happened. But a lie will get you halfway around this world
before the truth can get its boots on.
And so there are still people going around saying, hands up, don't shoot. And people look at him and say, never happened. Put your hands down, buddy. You're fine. Okay? So Millie Weaver has people in these movements with Zoom video footage of them saying, Minneapolis, you're going into these places. I don't know if they were before or after Minneapolis, but purposefully getting teenagers arrested. They have a red group and a green group. The red group, one of them are kids who have their parents' permission to be arrested, and one of them are kids to not be arrested. So the kids to not be arrested are usually in the back, and they go into government buildings.
Right.
And one leader, and they have an adult ringleader, and the adult ringleader will go to the cops and say, "These kids all want to be arrested." And then they hold up their little arrest certificate. They're making extremists.
That's crazy.
They'll go to some of these protests, these climate protests, and they'll pull kids in. Okay? And it's all about the systemic racism. Everything on our show on Friday. Systemic racism, social justice, which just means the redistribution of wealth from, the rich to the poor. And so back to Antifa here. With the UN, the defense of Antifa from the United Nations sparked a substantial backlash. The Trump administration has said Antifa is a terrorist organization. The UN Human Rights Council also agreed on Friday in Geneva to commission a report on supposedly systemic racism and discrimination against black people in America in order to contribute to accountability and redress for victims. Now, this is the same Human Rights Council who has done nothing for the Uyghurs, nothing for people in Iran, nothing for people in Saudi Arabia, nothing for people anywhere. Okay? If the council were serious about protecting human rights, says Mike Pompeo, there are plenty of legitimate needs for attention, such as the systemic racial disparities in places like Cuba, China, and Iran. And then remember, in 2018, the Trump administration withdrew from the UN Human Rights Council. Nikki Haley said this step is not a retreat from human rights commitments. On the contrary.
Did you turn your air conditioner off upstairs?
I did.
Okay.
Because of our commitment does not allow us to remain part of this hypocritical, self-serving organization. So they have since taken down their tweet. And let me see. I'm going to move on. I saw this tweet. So I wanted to delve into this to give you guys kind of a fuller picture of the European. See, Antifa is a European group that has uprooted itself from Europe and put roots in America. So during the Spanish Civil War, communists and anti-fascists often attacked the church, the Catholic Church, killing 50,000 priests, digging up and desecrating bodies of nuns and saints. These people, they know no boundaries, because in your pursuit of social justice, there is no end. Like the Maoist feast, where they would take the bodies of people, dissenters of the revolution in China, and they would eat their organs. Okay? Attacking church statues, all in the name of egalitarianism. Say, if you can find some of these pictures. You can see some of these pictures. Digging up and desecrating bodies of nuns. Burning churches with smiling children here. Look, they dug up bodies just to desecrate them.
What?
In the Spanish Civil War.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that, because we don't have any power, I wanted to make sure that Patriot Gallery, I didn't see her in the chat, that she had everything she needed. And I asked her, she has her laptop. And I said, do you have outlets she's in her room that work? And she's like, no. I said, don't you need to plug that in? She's like, yeah. So I had to tell her where she could plug it in. We don't want to lose Patriot Gallery.
What is Antifa? It is an international terrorist organization that's infiltrated government, media, education, sports, and finance. This here from EnglishNews.org. I really don't know much about the source, but it had really good information, so let me go with it for a minute. Antifa qualifies as an international terrorist organization, despite what the desperate mainstream media has insisted. It is not and never has been a solely domestic U.S. protest group. Antifa is an international terrorist organization.
Yep. The
primary objective of which is the destruction of, and I would not say the white race. I'm gonna try to go over some of this stuff. Their primary objective is not the destruction of white race. They're mostly white people. Okay. It is the destruction of capitalism and the implementation of the redistribution of wealth from the haves to the have-nots. That's their idea.
When really, you know how that ends? It's nobody gets anything in the end.
Yeah.
Well, there's always that elect few, though, that are controlling this, so when you're redistributing from the haves and the have-nots,
yeah,
there's always the no matter what you do haves.
Right.
They're always gonna have it, and they're controlling the have-nots to steal from the have lessers than these guys, but morers than these guys. They just made up those words.
Right.
Did you get that? Are you following?
Right.
I can do it again if you need.
Let me see. Oh, hang on. Let me unlist Epoch News here. Let me see what it'll give me. Hang on.
So somebody says we have power back. No. We have had power to half of our house, and we still have power to half of our house. But most of the outlets are no-goes. And so there's a select few, and we probably don't tell the fire department what we're doing here. We have so many things plugged in to extension cords all over our house. So it's obviously better than like having to run a generator, which gives you the opportunity to plug in like a refrigerator and a lamp, and that's it.
All right, the communist origins of the Antifa extremist group. The group promoted communist dictatorship in Germany on Soviet Union behalf and labeled all ideologies other than communism as fascism. The extremist anarchist communist group Antifa has been in the headlines because of the violent clashes in Charlottesville. Yet while the organization has been applauded by some left-leaning news outlets for including white nationalists and neo-Nazis on its list of targets, the organization wasn't always about targeting fascism, as it claims. The organization was initially part of the Soviet Union's front operations to bring about the communist dictatorship in Germany. And it worked to label all rival parties as fascist. Now, on the Berlin Wall, I believe it's at the Berlin Wall, or somewhere around the Berlin Wall, was on the Russian side, Antifa. We are Antifa. We are anti-fascist. Okay? Well, yeah, okay, you're anti... And this goes back to World War II, where poor Poland gets railroaded, helps win World War II, and then we, the United States, if you want reparations, Poland needs reparations from the world, because we because we made a deal with Stalin. I didn't do this, right? Talk about reparations, right? Talk about being guilty for something. I didn't do this. This is a stupid idea. They made a deal with Stalin. They're like, hey, you can have Poland. We didn't go in to help Polish people were waiting for us to come in and save them, and we didn't. It's pretty sad. Liberate the Jews, but then not the communists to come in. So anyways, you got the dividing line between the fascist and the anti-fascist, which is, Nazis and communists. So pick your poison. The organization can be traced to the United Front of the Soviet Union's Communist International Comintern during the Third World Congress in Moscow in June and July of 1921, according to the German booklet 80 Years of Anti-Fascist Action by Bert Langer, published by the Association for the Promotion of Anti-Fascist Culture. Langer is a former member of the Autonom Antifa, formerly one of Germany's largest Antifa organizations, which was disbanded in 2004. The Soviet Union was among the world's most violent dictatorships, killing about 20 million people. And the Soviet regime is second only to the Communist Party under Mao Zedong, which killed about 65 million people. The idea of the United Front strategy was to bring together left-wing organizations in order to incite communist revolution. The Soviets believed that following Russia's revolution of 1917, communism would next spread to Germany, since Germany had the second largest communist party, the KPD. It was at the Fourth World Congress of the Comintern in 1922 that the plan took shape. Moscow formed the slogan "To the Masses" and for its United Front strategy, and sought to join together the various communist and workers' parties of Germany under a single ideological banner that it controlled. The United Front thus did not mean an equal cooperation between different organizations, but the dominance of the workers' movement by the communists. Benito Mussolini, a Marxist and socialist, who had been expelled from Italy's Socialist Party in 1914 for his support of World War I, later founded the fascist movement as his own political party. He took power through the March of Rome in October 1922. In Germany, Adolf Hitler became the head of the Nationalist Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party, in 1921, and mounted the coup attempt in 1923. The KPD decided to use the banner of the anti-fascism to form a movement. Langer notes, though, that the KPD, the ideas of fascism and anti-fascism, were undifferentiated, as Michelle said. A gang by any other name is still a gang. And the term fascism served merely as rhetoric, meant to support their aggressive opposition. Both the communist and fascist systems, and you'll see this in the way people describe communism versus Nazism. Okay. Yeah. People are like, oh, communism just hasn't been done right. Nazism, not so good. The 2016 annual report of Germany's Domestic Intelligence Service The Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution notes the same point. From the viewpoint of the left-wing extremist, the label of fascism as pushed by Antifa often does not refer to actual fascism, but it is merely a label assigned to capitalism. Guys, here we are, one more time. Antifa, pro-communist, anti-capitalist, anti-kappa, anti-kappa, not Antifa, anti-kappa.
And that's the thing.
Anti-kappa. We need to rename. Anti-kappa. Anti-kappas.
And I don't care if they come at you and they say we're anti-kappa. Okay? But you can't claim to be one thing and you're actually just another.
Here's the thing. Because it's just like the BLM movement. We're for Black Lives Matter when they're really for destruction of the family, destruction of the police, abolition of the police, blah, 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 blah. I mean, in Millie Weaver's video, go see it. Millie. What's behind the Minneapolis riots. You'll see that they're like, defund the police really means police abolition. We're done with it. Destroy the police. Why? So they can bring in their anti-capitalist movement. You guys, you're hearing it right here, loud and clear on Resistance Chicks.
Somebody needs to make a meme and like change the flag so that it says anti-kappa.
So normal people are like, well, anti-fascist, okay, I understand you're just trying to fight fascism and Donald Trump's a fascist and he's really, I get that.
Let me ask you this, and this is a legitimate question. Where are the actual fascists in this world? Like, where can we point at in today's day and age where we can say, you know what, that is fascism?
See, they have created their own definition of fascism.
Right.
It means taking power and control by force, forcing people to do stuff, right? While the left-wing extremists claim to be fighting fascism while launching their attacks on other groups, the report states that the term fascism has a double meaning, anti-capitalism. This held true from the beginning.
It's not a double meaning.
According
it's
to
just a single
Langer.
meaning. It is literally just anti-capitalism.
The communists in Germany, anti-fascism merely meant anti-capitalism. He notes the label merely served as battle concepts under a political vocabulary.
Erdogan
a description
is a fascist.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep, there you go.
So, but when you can't say Trump and Erdogan, he's the president of Turkey, prime minister, whatever. You can't look at Trump and Erdogan and say, you know what? Those are the same guy. You could
the world does.
No, but factually,
No.
right? Because Trump does not imprison journalists. So people could say, but his heart, okay? Well, you can be a murderer in heart, but not actually commit murder, and you're not actually a murderer, okay? So they think that deep inside of Trump, there is a fascist dictator, right?
Okay.
But his actions do not prove
The description
that.
of Antifa on the BFV website notes that the organization still holds the same basic definition that capitalism as being fascism. They argue that the capitalist state produces fascism, or at least tolerates it. Therefore, anti-fascism is directed not only against actual or supposed right-wing extremists, but also always against the state and its representatives. In particular, members of security authorities. Do you understand? Take that, screenshot it, boom. This is from the Epoch Times, the communist origins of the Antifa extremist movement. Langer notes that historically, by labeling the anti-capitalist interests of the communist movement as anti-fascism, the KPD was able to use this rhetoric to label all other political parties as fascist. Just all of them. Langer states, according to this, the other parties opposed to the KPD were fascist, especially the SPD, the Social Democratic Party of Germany. Thus, in what would today be considered ironic, the group that the communist anti-fascists most heavily targeted under their new label of fascism was the Social Democrats. August 23rd, 1923, the Politburo of the Communist Party of Russia held a secret meeting, and according to Langer, all the important officials spoke out for an armed insurrection in Germany. The KPD was at the front of this call, launching a movement under the banner of the United Front Action and branding its armed anti-fascist wing under the name Anti-Fascist Action in German, which Antifa still carries in Germany, and from which the Antifa organizations in other countries are rooted. So Germany is the root for Antifa. understand this anti-capitalism. You see this? There's their flag. It's still there. You know
what you find?
I don't know how to say that in German.
So there, when you support something, it's a positive. When you are against something, it's a negative. What I find is that, like, I'm racking my brain as I'm sitting here, trying to think of good, wholesome, whether you want to say Christian or religious groups that identify themselves by what they are against, by what they stand against. Like, their entire religion is, see, we are pro-life. We don't call ourselves anti-abortionists. Well,
they call us anti-abortionists.
They do. But we call ourselves pro-life. So what I'm disappointed that this group doesn't come out with a more positive message that says we are pro-communist.
So at this time, Hitler and his Nazi party had begun to emerge on the world stage, and the Nazi party employed a similar group to the Antifa. They called the brown shirts. Antifa, meanwhile, began to attract some members who opposed the arrival of actual fascism in Germany and who did not subscribe to or were potentially unaware of the organization's ties to the Soviet Union. However, the violence instigated by the Antifa largely had an opposite effect. The ongoing tactics of violence and intimidation of all rival systems under the Antifa movement, along with its violent ideology, drove many people towards fascism.
So, speaking to this, my what I posed here about being against stuff, what I think of is Antichrist, right?
Okay.
So here's the thing that you have when you have people that identify themselves by what they are against. You take violent action against the thing that you are against. And so you see Antifa taking violent action against whatever they're against, because it's not fascism, and you see the devil taking violent action against Christ and Christians, and that's where you need to see where it lines up.
The communist violent revolutionary rhetoric promising the destruction of capitalism and the creation of a Soviet Germany terrified the country's middle class, who knew only too well what happened to their counterparts in Russia after 1918, so they could see the communist ties, right? So they actually were pushed towards Nazism. Appalled at the failure of the government to solve the crisis, frightened into desperation by the rise of the communists, they began to leave the squabbling little factions of the conventional political right and gravitate towards the Nazis instead. Langer notes that from the beginning, the KPD was a member of the Comintern, and within a few years it became a Stalinist party, both ideological and logistically. And he states that it even became financially dependent on Moscow headquarters. Leaders of the KPD, with Antifa as their on-the-ground movement for violence and intimidation of rival political parties, fell under the command of the Soviet apparatus. Many KPD leaders would later become leaders in the communist German Democrat Republic, including the infamous Ministry for the Secretary of State, the Stasi. As Langer states, anti-fascism is a strategy rather than an ideology. It was brought into play in Germany in the 1920s by the KPD, not as a legitimate movement against fascism that would later arise in Germany, but instead as an anti-capitalist concept of the struggle. All right? And so this is what we kind of need to understand when we're talking about Antifa. With the United Nations saying Antifa is a legit organization and we need to just get behind them and they're anti-fascist, and what they're saying is they're part of the cultural Marxism movement. They're part, like, the communism has not died. We all thought that communism was dying. Like, there was a couple Battisons. You got a little bit in Cuba. You got a little bit in Venezuela. You got a little bit in, we got a lot of it in North Korea and a heck of a lot of it in China, right? But other than that, you know, Mugabe, Zimbabwe, is kind of gone. You know, we're kind of getting out of that. But you see a rise. It was very interesting. You see a rise between the Antifa, the anti-Israel people, and the BLM in South Africa, and these violent tactics. So with that, we're talking about Antifa joining the BLM, and they both have the same ideologies. They both have the same merging of viewpoints, which is end of capitalism. So you got Nigel Farage over here asking people, I have never seen so many people scared to say what they think. And I don't know if we shared this last week or not. Nigel Farage spoke to Breitbart about the Marxist anarchic threat to free speech and free thought in the United Kingdom. saying that fear is dominating absolutely everything. Guess where Nigel Farage is right now?
Did he actually go to... I know he's in the United States.
I think he went to Tulsa.
Did he go to Tulsa?
I think he made it there. I think he did. The people on the left are all upset because there's a travel ban, and the people in the UK are not allowed in unless there's a special, if less to the United States interests.
And it is always in the United States' interest to have Sir Nigel in our country.
So Nigel Farage declined to comment on the specifics of the change. A position of silence has taken since the surprise announcement on Thursday. He did offer his thoughts on the broader move to suppress freedom of thought and speech in the United Kingdom, making clear present developments were historic in scale. The Brexit leader told Breitbart News, "It seems that the real threat we face now is a genuine threat to free speech. I have never known a time when, in the United Kingdom, which is famed for its huge breadth of media commentary and views, I have never seen so many people so scared to write and say and speak and broadcast what they think. It really is quite disturbing." He explained that while it is clear the simple and face value idea that Black Lives Matter was unarguably and widely supported, the organization that calls itself Black Lives Matter has a radical agenda behind it. It's agreeable sounding name, but used the title to accuse anyone who dared agree with its hard left views of being racist. The truth of it is, of course, that Black Lives Matter, the organization, is an open Marxist anarchist, wants to abolish our police forces, and in doing its best to culturally to literally destroy and erase every piece of symbolism of our long and complex history. We're at a point where if you criticize Black Lives Matter, the accusation is you don't support equality, and you don't think there should be a huge racial divide, and you do think there should be a huge racial divide, and that is where we are. I'm just not somebody who's prepared to go along with that, and I won't support mob rule.
So I'm trying to think of a comparison here because
it's
this is so fascinating. Fascinating to
yeah.
me. Here's the deal. So imagine you have a store that calls themselves a cupcakery. Okay? They sell or they say cupcakes. The store is just called Cupcakes. Let's just say it's my cupcake shop. Michelle's Cupcakes. All right?
Are we going to a new business?
You go into the cupcake shop expecting that you're going to be able to buy cupcakes. Okay? Now,
Nigel Garage.
they have in Michelle's cupcake shop, okay? We have a little tiny plate in the corner that has some cupcakes that don't even taste good, okay? And the rest of the store sells orthopedic inserts.
No. Knives and
Knives and guns, I mean. Okay, knives and guns. I was thinking something just boring. Fireworks. Dynamite. So you go to the shop. Okay.
Michelle's Machete Shop.
But that's what it should be called. But I lure everyone in
With the cupcakes.
with the cupcakes, and you go in and you can't even get any because there really aren't any. Maybe there's just like
Michelle's
a picture
Machete
of the cupcakes.
Shop versus Michelle's Cupcakes.
And inside,
You just hate cupcakes.
but
You must leave with a machete.
if you walk into the store wanting to buy a cupcake, okay, and you're like, I like cupcakes, and you don't buy weapons that I am selling at my store, okay, you are against cupcakes.
Or if you don't like my cupcakes, once you've tasted them, then you're against cupcakes. All cupcakes.
The point is,
All
they're
cupcakes.
selling something
When your
that
cupcakes
they
just
don't,
taste bad.
they're advertising. They are advertising something that they don't sell.
You really just
And
need to make a short
they
little
are
clip of
trying
that.
to tell everybody that you have to agree that you love all my weapons that I'm selling and you want to buy them, or else if you don't, then you are against cupcakes. And no one in their right mind is against cupcakes. That's a given. No one is against Black Lives Matter. Okay? Everyone, not everyone, most people are for it in this country. Okay? But we don't want to buy all your knives that you are selling. We don't want your LGBTQ, tear down the nuclear family, introduced communism, We don't want all of that, okay? We just want, yes, black lives really matter, but that's not what they're giving.
All right. Nigel Farage, as Richard Littlejohn says, Lewis Hamilton has applauded the toppling of statues and called for all racist symbols around the world to be removed. He is paid £40 million by Mercedes, a firm which actually made vast profits from slavery. And we're seeing that a lot.
Right.
Because I guess the founder of Yale College owned slaves. And so there's a conservative movement to ban everybody who has gone to any sort of historically like racist or college that enslaved.
Okay.
And so I kind of like this reverse cancel culture here. But speaking of cancel culture, so Barry shares with me this great little video on the origins of rugby and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And I found it endearing. And then people are calling for this historical we call this
so are we going to sing this song at the end, because I love this song,
a historical spiritual Negro spiritual that people have always sang,
Sweet Chariot,
and it's very Christian,
coming for to carry me home. Go ahead. Sweet home.
Tell me when you're done.
Sweet. No, we're done.
No, we're not, because and it's not even here.
Chariot.
What happened? Where's my thing? I can't get this on for this.
Carry me home.
Okay.
Well, I looked over Jordan, and what did I see?
Ireland in the final game of the Five Nations. It had been a desperate time for England fans, having lost 15 of their previous 23 Five Nations matches. England had scored just one try at Twickenham in the previous 2 years, and after 40 minutes, it seemed that bleak run would...
Side note.
With the shorts.
I'm not a really big fan... No, wait, I forget the shorts. I'm not a really big fan of American football anymore. Like, it's boring to me. Just really is boring to me.
Yeah?
But I honestly believe that the sport that is... We don't even have the most interesting sport is rugby. And what I actually love about rugby...
But we do, but it's
just
not very...
No, we don't have rugby.
No, we do.
There are little people who play it on the side, but it's not a sport that people watch on TV.
It's a small...
When have you ever watched American rugby?
But...
When has it ever been on TV?
It's on ESPN. Like, we do have rugby teams. We have American rugby teams. We have small local rugby teams. They're not... It's not as wide known.
No. It does not exist.
It does.
Okay, it literally is like when you put pepper in a dish and you can't taste it. People in America don't even know what rugby is, okay? That's how minuscule it is.
Yes, they do.
Go ahead. They don't. No, they don't. Anyways, we don't have rugby, okay? We do not have it. It's like saying we have cricket.
412 says U.S. rugby is garbage.
It's like saying we have cricket. We don't have cricket. It's like saying we have we have polo.
I think we
don't have polo.
Redneck says my sister used to play rugby. We have more rugby than we do cricket.
Whatever, we don't have it. I'm saying we don't. Okay, it's like people can play it because anybody can play anything, but we don't have it as like people don't feel
Stories of Brit says you have a good and getting better rugby team internationally.
Well, nobody's ever heard of them. What are they called? Well, nobody knows. Anyways, I enjoy rugby.
The U.S. rugby team.
No, I enjoy rugby. I enjoy rugby. It's a real sport, and I don't wear stupid pads. Real men play the sport, and they're actually... Here's the thing. I don't think our guys can play it because they're so used to, like, thuggery. These guys are, like, when you watch them in the video, they're, like, so polite.
How old is this video?
2015.
No, I mean,
Continue as Ireland led 3-0.
I don't know.
Onside.
Donna Terry says my grandson played rugby in high school.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Kiernan drop goal. Has to be.
Do you see the stands of people?
And yet,
We don't
it
have
was a
that
day that
level.
would go down in
level
English rugby folklore.
We don't have a minuscule
We had a
level.
pretty average first half against Ireland. And then we came out in the second half and something just clicked.
Stays on his feet. Deep into the Irish 22. He loses the tackle. Can he make it to the line? Referee Norling has given the try.
Ripod says in rugby, World Cup, America always gets knocked out in the
In a
first round.
rampant second half, England ran in 6 tries.
Carling, Andrew, England come again. Carling, Webb, Oti, fitting for the hat-trick. England shadows him all the way, but doesn't tackle, and Oti's in. Oti's
So
there for the hat-trick.
there's a reason we're watching rugby right now.
We all became conscious
We are talking about the historical reason of why they are singing, why the anthem for the UK team is "Swing Low, Swing Chariot." It is a African Negro spiritual, and they're wanting to cancel it right now. That is what we're talking about. This is UK news.
Yes, but it seems like we're just watching a game.
It's 3 minutes long to explain why this came about. Would you just watch?
Ripod says in the UK, rugby is a gentleman's sport. Soccer is for thugs.
Thank
as
you.
the second half went on, and the crowd started to
Go with me.
grow with this
No,
swing
you're not.
low, sweet chariot thing, which, to be honest, we all talked about it afterwards. It was like, what was that? Where did that come from?
Visiting Twickenham that day was a group of players from Market Bosworth Rugby Club in Leicestershire.
Nothing out of the ordinary, didn't think anything else was going to be any different to any other game.
Leicestershire.
Second half, they come out and they seemed a different side and started running a couple of tries, and the atmosphere in the stadium just built and built.
The group had been trying to get the crowd to join in with their songs all day. Jerusalem, Land of Hope and Glory, and
Very
Rule
right
Britannia
there.
had all fallen on deaf ears. But then, the Market Bosworth group launched into a song that was popular at rugby clubs across the land.
I started swing low, and it just...
Nobody really knew what it was or where it came from, but it just became this. It almost became the supporters' anthem for the England team.
I'm married to a Scotswoman, and for 27 years, every time it gets sung, I sit there and say, I started that, and I think after 27 years, she's had enough now.
In sports, you're allowed to differentiate.
And from that day
You're
on,
not the UK.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot has become ingrained in English rugby.
England,
The crowd get
Scotland.
behind you, and how do they do that? I mean, cheering is one thing, but actually it needs to come out in something else. It needs to come out in words. Either when the team are doing well, so it's a celebration, or sometimes you hear it when you're in defence, and actually it's almost a call to arms from the crowd to get behind the team because you're under the cosh in defence, and the crowd are sort of sensing that you need a little bit extra just to get off the ground and make the next tackle. So it's incredibly powerful.
It's a beautiful song, and now you have Prince Harry, who has decided that he is a rugby fan. We are not going to sing this song anymore. Even though I'm in America and I'm not going back there to watch
Harry,
your stupid rugby.
You do not get to have a say in anything. In
Calls
the
to
UK
ban
anymore.
England rugby fans from singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot because of its association with slavery. Now have the backing of Los Angeles-based Prince Harry. Harry, who is also the patron of the Rugby Football Union, is supporting rugby officials, seeking to review its historical context and whether it is cultural misappropriation for it to be sung by rugby fans. The song was written by Wallace Willis, a freed Oklahoma slave after 1865, and has been long associated with black spiritual gospel music. It was adopted by rugby fans in England in 1988 when England beat Ireland at Twickenham following an impressive come-from-behind win. It has been sung at matches involving the national team ever since, while artists including UB40, Ladysmith, Black Mambazo, and Ella Eyre have released their own rugby-inspired versions. A spokesman for Harry told the Times the Duke is supportive of the comments that the RFU made this week regarding the review of the song and will follow the lead of the RFU on the matter. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot has long been part of the culture of rugby and is sung by many who have no awareness of its origins or its sensitivities. We are reviewing its historical context and our role in educating fans to make informed decisions. Hey! A freed slave wrote a song! And we all like it! And we want to sing it! But if we sing it, we are appropriating. And so what we're going to do, we are going to ignore all black people stuff. We aren't going to watch their movies. We aren't going to sing their songs. We aren't even going to talk to them. Because we will be racially appropriating their friendships. No more conversation. And in the name of racial equality,
Right.
we will segregate everything. So black people, everything you have ever done, we won't touch it.
So, and that's the thing. If you can't see, if you are a black person,
how racist
and you cannot see that they want to divide, they want to tell white people that they can't enjoy or participate, okay, in anything that you do, that they want complete separation, and you can't see that as subversive racism, that they are hiding. They are a wolf in sheep's clothing going, I'm the sheep, and really inside racist. They are the racist.
I guarantee you, I am having a seance right now, okay, and just go with me, with Wallace Willis. Do you support the singing of this song? Well, of course I do. This is fantastic. I'm more famous than ever. The world now knows about my song. Sing my song. Makes me feel good. Yes. He has now said it.
And now you are a false psychic. Whatever. Kept trying
Boris
to
Johnson
falsely conjure
singing
up.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, despite song's slavery roots. No. Do you understand it's slavery? No, it's Freeman roots. A Freeman wrote it.
And they are constantly wanting to remind you of slavery and say you are a slave. Even if you are free, you're still a slave. You are still a slave. This is complete insanity.
There should not be any sort of prohibition on singing that song. And I would love to hear the lyrics in full. You know what? We are going to do a song in the middle of the show.
Okay. We're going to do a song in the middle. And so, you know what? John Newton wrote Amazing Grace because he got saved and repented, right? Mm-hmm. Of being a slave ship captain. Now, don't play the song.
I thought it'd be nice, but okay.
No, well, I don't care.
The Plantation Singers.
Why don't we just sing it?
Well, that's appropriation.
No. Oh, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home.
Listen to those harmonies.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me.
Chariot, coming forth to carry me home.
Lord Jordan, and what did I see? Coming forth to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming forth to carry me home. Coming forth to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming forth to carry me home. Tell all my friends that I'm coming too, coming forth to carry me home. Why don't you swing down, Chariot, stop it? Let me ride. Swing down, Chariot, come and let me ride. Oh, rock me, Lord, come and easy. I got a home on the other side. Swing down, Chariot, come and let me ride. Swing down, Chariot, come and let me ride. Rock me, Lord,
I'm gonna tell y'all something. That is one of the most anointed, bringing people into the kingdom of God songs that was ever written. And it has nothing to do with cultural appropriation.
That's why
their goal is to get God out of everything. And so what I would love to share with my white Christian friends that are trying to back these sorts of things, they are trying to obliterate the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the devil cannot stand any mention of Jesus. The fact that during rugby, you guys sing a song about heaven, okay? And then you got, if you get there before I do, that's heaven, okay? I got a home on the other side.
It's totally anointing. It's totally God, and that's why they want to end it.
That's exactly why they do, and that stands for everything they want to get rid of.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Swing low,
sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
I looked over Jordan, and what did I see?
Coming for to carry me home.
Angels coming after me,
coming for to carry me home.
Swing low,
sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell all my friends that I'm coming to, coming for to carry me home.
Swing low,
sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
And sometimes I'm up, and sometimes I'm down,
coming for to carry me home.
But still my soul feels heavenly bound,
coming for to carry me home.
Swing low,
a sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
Swing low,
sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
You're not gonna get that from that's a black people thing, man.
Not because we don't want to do
it.
It
doesn't really does. I don't got the right stuff right now. All right, I hate.
Oh man, now we're gonna go to Cray Cray. We have so much still to cover. This
we don't have to cover it all. We're just going to listen. Terror attack. TERROR. Terror attack. Okay. 25-year-old Libyan asylum seeker already was in jail. Nigel says, "Why was this guy sent home?" I'm burning up down here. It is like really hot. All right. Sources named suspect in UK knife rampage as Libyan migrant Kari Sadala. We're going to go over here to the BBC. Hopefully they won't censor
Held
us.
on suspicion of killing 3 people at a park in Reading last night has been identified as a 25-year-old originally from Libya. Khairi Sadallah had come to the attention of MI5 last year but was not considered to be an immediate risk. The fatal stabbing is being treated by police as a terror incident.
Comment on that? Came to the attention of MI5 but wasn't considered to be a what? Immediate risk.
I can't.
And tonight one of the victims was named as a 36-year-old teacher, James Furlong. His family described him as a wonderful, beautiful and intelligent man. It was in Forbury Gardens in Reading Town Centre that the attack began around 7 o'clock last night. The suspect was arrested there shortly afterwards. Later, armed police carried out a raid at a block of flats in another part of the town. Our Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sadford joins us now live from Reading. Daniel.
Yes, Michelle, it was a summer evening in this park right in the middle of Reading town centre when suddenly and savagely a knife man started attacking people sitting on the grass. And in the very first group he attacked, 3 good friends died, one of whom was a much-loved history teacher. The moment when specialist firearms officers raided a flat in Reading last night. Whoa! Just over a mile from where 3 people were stabbed to death in the worst police-designated terrorist attack in Britain for 3 years. It was the home of Chariot, a Libyan asylum seeker with possible mental health problems, who briefly came to the attention of MI5 last year, but was not considered a genuine risk or immediate threat. He's suspected of attacking groups of complete strangers enjoying a summer evening in Forbury Gardens, right in the town centre, at around 7 o'clock yesterday evening. A group of men was targeted first.
He darted round anti-clockwise the circle, got one, went to another, stabbed the next one, went to another, stabbed the next one. I still thought it was a scuffle, but I was
Let me explain something to you. He's got a knife, and he's able to kill 3 people and stab 3 people. This kid knew what he was doing. Listen, we have butchered pigs. I don't want to compare the two. But I think that it's pretty hard to just stab and kill somebody with one knife shot. Like, it's like he knew what he was doing. Okay?
watching because I didn't want to get involved in it.
He was trained.
I was just watching and then he stood up and I saw a massive knife in his hand, probably at least 5 inches minimum, and then he turned and started looking towards us. And
I don't want to be more gruesome, but to get through body parts enough to kill, the force, the angle.
And I think it's a matter of being trained. You have to really be trained
and
in
your
order
brain,
to know how to
your
do
brain,
this. Yeah.
Your brain.
Right.
Then I just started shouting, "Run!" And I heard a lot of screams in the park. A lot of people realised and started running away.
One of those killed was 36-year-old James Furlong. His parents said tonight he was a wonderful man who will live in their hearts forever.
So a lot of stabbing victims are usually just victims and they don't die. Okay? Because it's not easy to kill a person with a knife. It's just not. And in fact, he got 3 off with a knife.
At the Holt School in Wokingham, which wrote in a letter to parents that James was a very kind and gentle man. He had a real sense of duty and cared for each and every one of our students. Words cannot describe our sadness at this time.
I'm appalled and sickened that people should lose their lives in this way. If there are lessons that we need to learn about how we handle such cases, how we handle the events leading up to such cases, then we will learn those lessons.
This morning, as a huge investigation got underway, police formally declared it as a terrorist attack, though detectives think their suspect was acting alone.
From our inquiries undertaken so far, officers have found nothing to suggest that there was anyone else involved in this attack. And presently, we are not looking for anyone else in relation to the incident.
Neighbours here at the block of flats where Khairi Sadala lived have told us that he had caused problems in the past. He once threw a TV out of the top floor window and he was regularly visited by a mental health key worker. Kieran Vernon told me that the man he knew showed no signs of extremism or violence and had rather been someone to smoke cannabis with.
He seemed like me or you. I mean, whenever we used to meet up, we used to talk about drinking whiskey and how different ganja affects the different thinking of mind. Like some makes you sleepy, some makes you happy, some makes you grumpy and stuff like that. And that's pretty much all we'd chat about. That is pretty much it. And sometimes
really
the odd women or two, you know, walk by and it's just a normal, genuine guy.
Genuine.
As the bodies were taken for post-mortem examinations, their families remembered 3 much-loved men. And as darkness fell, the police continued the meticulous counter-terrorism investigation into the savage attack in which the 3 friends died. Daniel Sanford, BBC News, Reading.
And our home editor Mark Easton is with me now in the studio. Just what should have been an ordinary peaceful night changing in an instant, Mark.
Absolutely. Thinking about the awful events in that park on yesterday evening, The question, of course, is why, and that will have been in the police's minds as soon as they were alerted to the attack. What was going through this man's head? Because in designating it a terrorist crime, they are convinced that there is evidence that he was pursuing a racial, religious, political or ideological cause of some kind. And you may remember there was actually some delay before they actually said, yes, it is a terrorist incident. And I think that may, in fact, be because it is quite difficult to work out what the motivation was at that time. The arrested man, as we know, is understood to have mental health difficulties. He's not apparently isolated incident. Police have said there's no one else they're looking for. There's no intelligence to suggest it's part of a wider terrorist campaign.
Nobody trained this guy.
Well, Maya says that it's not really that hard and it doesn't take much training. If you key spots in, they bleed out in a matter of minutes. You can look up techniques on YouTube. Don't do that. Don't listen to Maya. She's not telling you. Listen to Maya. Don't listen. Don't take what she's saying and say, I should look up these techniques. Don't do that.
Historically,
you could have the FBI knocking on your door.
People with knives just stab people, but they don't actually get a kill.
Mom's yelling for Nemo. Yes.
That 3 people have died in that incident in the centre of Reading this evening. There were unconfirmed reports that there were fatalities in that incident in Forbury Gardens. You can see there in the centre of Reading on our map. Well, Sky News understands that 3 people did die in that incident. We did know that at least 2 people had been taken to hospital for knife wounds after this stabbing attack, an incident which took place this evening at 7 o'clock. It is suspected to be terror-related, security sources are telling us. A man has been arrested. He's in police custody.
You don't know what you don't know, honey, unless you have killed somebody. And I don't want to know if you have. Do not tell me. I do not want to know. I am not carrying that to my grave.
Okay, so, and though to turn that around, we don't know either, okay, how easy or difficult it is. I'm just going by when these things usually happen, they don't usually get 3 people dead.
I'm going by what
right?
Kansas has to do with the daggone long knife to get that pig to die.
Well,
after studying them with the...
we don't have the big thick necks. We don't have this much lard trying to go through. So I think you're equivalating it incorrectly. All right. So humans, we are more fragile. Okay. Honestly.
Speaking of fragile, Katie Hopkins is fragile on Twitter. Twitter has banned Katie Hopkins. And the video that she was banned for was basically saying, if you get a free lunch at school, before you get a dog, you make sure that you can feed it.
Right.
But before you have a child, you just have the child, hoping that the government will feed it.
Right.
And she was taken off of Twitter for that.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh, Maya says, apocalypse survival skills.
Don't tell me, though.
Don't
you
tell
know,
us
it's one
what you
thing to
got.
say, this is how I stitch a wound. With, stitches. But I have not done it on a human yet. So I don't really know. I know, but I haven't really done a human yet, so I don't know.
So, but if you're saying that you know,
I don't want to know how you know.
We don't want to know how you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I used the phrase hung like a baboon. And I used it in response to a threat of a sexual nature of kind of violence against me. And many people will know conservative women like myself receive a lot of those kind of threats. And I sort of mocked back and said, well, he'd better be hung like a baboon. It's actually a lie.
What,
Mom?
Don't let Nemo out. Why?
Mom? She left.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with Rowan Atkinson and Blackadder, but it's actually a line from Blackadder. Yeah, and it's actually in the Urban Dictionary as well. It's about testicular fortitude. And actually...
Where's Matt? Could you go talk? I'm going to talk about Katie, and you find Matt, and you take...
He was asking questions how to get there and stuff. Up to the roof and stuff.
Just go out there and talk to the people. Michelle, just go.
I don't know.
Talk to go. You're fine.
To a threat of receive a lot of those kind of threats. And I sort of mocked back and said, well, he'd better be hung like a baboon. It's actually a line from, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Rowan Atkinson and Blackadder, but it's
Very
actually
familiar.
a line from Blackadder. Yeah, and it's actually in the Urban Dictionary as well. It's about testicular fortitude. And actually, I use it on my Twitter bio, my old Twitter bio. I use it about myself because that's a comment people say about me, that I have testicular fortitude. So I have been banned from Twitter for life because I reach 1.1 million followers, but because I use the phrase hung like a baboon. And that's the truth in black and white.
Unbelievable. Reece?
So, in vernacular, Twitter says hung like a baboon, meaning hung, and she was using it as in the testicles hang low. It's actually a compliment, like kind of a compliment, like you got, male goods, strong ones.
Is there any coming back from that? Because it is a massive platform, like you said, 1.1 million people. And it seems like if you're being threatened, and given the number of high-profile people on Twitter who are wishing death and destruction and hoping Trump is murdered, that there's no bans for them. This seems to be a very obvious double standard. Is there some recourse where you can say this is a line from Blackadder? It's it's well known in England. Could you be brought back?
Well, I think one thing, Rita, there's no coming back from this for Twitter, actually. I think it's highly embarrassing that they've banned someone like myself for using...
Streety Bacon says, my friend, who is black, had been at the BLM meeting before the stabbings and called me at 9 to tell me what happened. He has the video of the stabbings. The police are telling the public not to share.
Hung like a baboon. I also think for Twitter, what we've seen today, I've joined Parler, and I have to say, Parler, it's an app. It's to provide competition in the social media sphere, and there has been a mass exodus, the largest exodus seen from Twitter today in a single day to Parler, and I'm very grateful for so many people for being so supportive.
I joined Parler, but I can't get my picture up.
Have to say that when the truth comes out, as it will now, about why Twitter has actually banned me, and they didn't actually let me know either. They went straight to CNN, The Guardian, the BBC, and other media outlets to put that out there. So even if they were to have me back now, actually I'm encouraging people to look for competition, look for new spaces, because how much longer can conservatives sit and just be censored? And please, this is nothing to do with free speech. We haven't had free speech in the UK for probably 10 years right now. Nobody can speak their minds. This is purely about needing competition and for rules to be applied fairly to all. So come find me on Parler, and remember that Twitter are now suspending people for saying hung like a baboon. And if you think of that phrase, think of me, because it will give me great pleasure.
Well, all right, so we are having such a great time, but in like a few minutes, all of the power is going to get shut off for them to fix it. So we're going to have to sign off our show.
Okay, well, we're ending on hung like a baboon. And Katie Hopkins was taken off of Twitter. Actually, I did not know this was why. But they thought hung as in hung. But she used the phrase as in
Did
hung.
she clarify? We all know what that means, yeah. Did she clarify?
I didn't.
Well, if you're going to say, like, they don't hang baboons.
But that's what Twitter thinks.
Okay, well,
because Twitter thinks like the
anybody
lynching people in California. That's a swing.
Here's the deal. I am one of the most pure-minded people that I know, and I knew.
No. I had no idea what she meant. But here's the thing.
Have you ever seen a baboon?
Yeah, but
the farmer mindsets.
But here's the thing: it's like the mayor in California or wherever it was that said that all ropes are nooses.
Right, exactly.
And so if you use the word hung on Twitter, it means noose.
Right.
Rather than this.
Yeah, we get it.
All right, guys, so I'm going to sign off on hung like a baboon.
Oh, dear.
And we just sang Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
No, now that's reaching. Now that's reaching. You. That one. Now you went in the gutter.
I didn't. That wasn't a joke.
Oh, okay.
Now you went to the gutter. I was thinking
we have to go now. How did this show? It's, you know what it is. Katie Hopkins is
You do have to censor her.
Infectious, and it's a spirit of perversion on this woman. So anyway,
but it's comedic at times, and it's a nice reprieve.
Everybody's laughing. Don't laugh at this stuff, guys.
All ropes are racist.
Unbelievable. All right, so we love you guys. I'm sorry that this show is cut short, but I am excited that we're going to get power back, and maybe we'll do a show this week just to catch up.
We've covered everything.
We did?
Yeah, we covered the whole show.
Good job.
I have one more thing. If you go
Patriot
to Blogger,
Gallery.
I have put Leah's stuff on bloggers.
On
Red Pill people.
Isaiah58ministries.blogspot.com
Red Pill
or
your friends.
resistancechicks.blogspot.com.
Especially with the Woodrow Wilson blog on Progressive.
Just bring up.
We're going to get cut off. He's going to cut all our power off.
Just resistant chicks. Just show me the title of the one. I just put one up though. It agreed with everything.
While she's pulling that up, what do you guys think of? I am going to try to get us to. I'm going to convert this to a podcast. If you guys have a place where is popular, I've never done it before, we can convert these to MP3s and upload them and have a podcast that's downloadable. I don't know if we can upload to Stitcher. I don't know. That might be like higher up. You might have to be somebody to get to blogger.com.
There, it's in blue, right there.
Resistancechicks.blogspot.com.
I just did that one. It agrees with everything you guys just said. It has TV
monetary
shows on
reset.
gold
It's
and silver.
on everyone's mind.
And it also has a false religion that they all come down to, and it comes down to the scripture. Many are the ways to salvation, but there's only one way through Jesus Christ that we can get all our governments right. All the governments are right through Jesus Christ because the Bible is consistent. And what happened is the guy in the gold guy, he talks about this lies.
Mom.
He talks about lies, and they keep lying, so we cover up more lies. We need something that's the truth. Okay, just tell them to watch that, and then
You can go there and see it yourself. Resistancechicks.blogspot.com.
This is the one. William G. McAdoo.
All right, so we're going to sign off because I want to end the show with the proper ending, and so everything, because lights out are going to happen probably in a few seconds. So, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You know the routine. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. Like, comment, and subscribe. So, we will be back later this week. We love you guys. We appreciate you. You are our family. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there.
Should we have a flashlight with us or something?
Probably. Maya says I'm learning all kinds of bad stuff from this show. Jeez, it's unbelievable. Thanks, ladies. Thank you for your wisdom, Patriot Gallery. So there you go. All right, we love you guys. I wish I could read more of the comments. I'll read them later. Okay, I promise. I promise. And Patriot Gallery, if you want to come back later tonight, Mom, what time do you think you'll do a replay if we have power back? 11? 12 midnight. Yep. Okay. All right. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. We wouldn't be Resistance Chicks without you. Bye, guys.
I was cold.